All right, so let's talk about racism, but a specific thing that people like to say. And this thing that people like to say goes way past racism. It's not just a racism topic. But I'm going to include it here because I'm seeing it a lot. You have a lot of people, especially on social media, that like to use the phrase, "You're just a sheep. Stop being a sheep. Stop being led. Think for yourself. You're just a sheep." Okay. I think we've all seen somebody say that. Sometimes we may have said it or thought it ourselves. Pretty simple concept. People don't think for themselves, they just accept what someone else presents to them. Don't really think about it, don't ask any whys or how, don't look into it. It fits their narrative, so they accept it. And they react as they're told, which makes them a sheep. Okay? This happens. But let's talk about society. And let's use that analogy. So I don't know, I'm not overly familiar with Let's try that one again. I'm not overly familiar with sheep herding. But in my mind, I have like an image of how it works. And I'm going to go with that. And I think probably everybody's image may be somewhat similar to that, even if not perfectly exact. So I think you'll be able to follow me, because we want to use this concept as our analogy of being a sheep. So what is society? Society is just a group of people, usually within imaginary lines drawn on a map, i.e. a state, a country, and they agree that as this group of people in this area, they're going to believe maybe not everything identically, but they're going to believe the basic concepts of things, usually laws. Not everybody's going to accept every single law, but most of the laws that are going to agree on. They're going to agree on basic moral concepts, basic social structure. This is what makes a society. You have a group of people that all agree to follow the same basic thing. Now, you're still going to have disagreement. Like, for example, the biggest one that comes to mind right away is abortion. Here in the United States, abortion's legal. A lot of people disagree, think it should not be legal. Okay, so you got the whole debate on that one particular law. However, they still, regardless what their feeling on abortion is, they still are part of the American society, the society of the United States, and they still work together as a society. So you can see how even if one particular issue or even a group of issues aren't all agreed on, the society still exists. I think everybody can follow that. So that's what a society is, a group of people following most of the same concepts. So what happens to change society? How does society change? Well, if you have enough people in that society, or let's call them sheep, if you have enough sheep in that society that start making a problem, then the people that are herding the sheep have to deal with it. You can have one sheep, maybe it wanders out away from the herd, and the people just bring it back in, or one of those dogs, I'm sorry, I forget the dog that's used for sheep herding, having trouble speaking today, will nip at its heels and bring it back into the herd. But when you have one sheep, it's easy, just bring it back into the herd. When you have multiple sheep, and it starts requiring a little bit more effort. And just as an example, let's say a herd of sheep smells water, senses water, knows that there's water, whatever, and the lead sheep starts walking towards it, but then gets pushed back into the herd. Nope, we're going this way. Well, that lead sheep is like, all right, but I want water, and it heads back towards water, and then another sheep sees what it's doing, and it goes, oh, water, I want water. And so it follows, and you have one sheep that kind of leaves the herd, but it inspires others to leave the herd. And then eventually you have a whole bunch of sheep that are trying to leave the herd to go in a certain direction. And after a while, the people that are herding the sheep have to decide, is it worth it to bring them all back together? Or do we just say, fine, we'll go this way? Oh, you want water? All right, well, we can take this side trip. We can do this. We can go towards water. Or do they just push them all back into the herd? So now you have to ask, well, if we're really making the analogy, and somebody says don't be sheep, what are they? Because either you are part of society or you are not. And the herd is society. So what are you? If you're not a sheep, are you a fox? Are you trying to eat the sheep? Is that what you're saying? You're slowly destroying the herd? I don't think that's what you mean. I don't think that's what you want to be. You may think you're cool and clever, like a fox, but that doesn't fit your analogy. You don't want to be a fox. You don't really want to destroy and kill the herd. Unless maybe you're a serial killer and that's what you're trying to tell everybody. But I don't think that's it. So what are you if you're not part of the herd? Because you're in society. You're talking to everybody in society. You're using social constructs within society to tell people that are also part of society they shouldn't be a sheep. So are you the person herding them? Are you the government? Because that's basically what the government is. It keeps the herd following the rules. Whether the government is the police or it's the politicians, something government related keeps the herd together, all following the same rules, going forward. Or maybe stopping to eat, or stopping to drink. But they're going somewhere in the long run. Otherwise, they wouldn't be herding them. So, really, if you think about it, you're a sheep too. Because you're part of society, and society is that herd, and you're not the politician. You're not the police officer. You're not herding. You're part of society. So which sheep are you? Are you a sheep along the edge, maybe, let's just say, and you kind of wander out and you're all excited because, hey, look, I'm walking where no other sheep is walking. I'm special. I'm not doing what all the other sheep are doing. Oh, look, here comes the dog. Let me get back in here with the herd. Is that who you are? You just kind of step away from the herd now and then until you get pushed back in? That makes you happy? That's who you are? Maybe that's not who you are. Maybe you're the sheep at the back of the herd. Maybe you're like, hey, we had good grass back there, man. I want to go back and get that grass. So you're kind of holding up the herd, saying, I want to go back. That grass was good, man. That was some of the best grass we had. I want to go back and get that grass. But that grass has already been eaten. It might grow again, but it's not there now. We're going to find new grass, different grass that we haven't already eaten. If we do go back there, it's got to be after it grows again. We can't just sit around and wait for it. So if you're trying to hold up the herd for something that isn't even there anymore, is that the sheep you are? Is that who you want to be? Is that the member of society you're excited about? I want to go back to what was great that isn't there anymore? Really? Okay, so if you're not a sheep at the back of the herd, holding everybody up, being pushed along against your will, and if you're not a sheep at the edge of the herd that just thinks it's cool because it gets to walk where no other sheep are walking for a short period of time, then are you the lead sheep? Because the lead sheep make the changes. And the only time change actually occurs is when there's enough sheep that follow that lead sheep to make the people herding say, okay, we have to change things. The way we were herding isn't working, so we have to adapt because these sheep want something different. So we can use a little bit more forceful means of bringing them back together and have them do it our way. Or we can realize what the sheep want, and if it's okay, we can let them do that. But you're not the lead sheep because you don't have any ideas that you're putting forward. You're just telling everybody else that their idea is bad. But when that lead sheep gets enough other sheep to follow it, society changes. When somebody says, hey, this is a problem, and nobody listens, nothing happens. But when somebody says, hey, this is a problem, and then somebody else agrees, and somebody else agrees, and eventually you have enough people that stand up and say, this is a problem, and they all become the lead sheep, that's when society changes. So we're all sheep. I don't know what the excitement is about telling people not to be sheep, because we're all sheep. The real question is, what sheep do you want to be? Because I don't want to be the sheep at the back of the herd, holding everybody up, talking about grass that we used to eat, or a time that was so much better, except it really wasn't, or talking about not making progress as a society because what we used to be was the best we could be. No, I want improvement all the time. I don't want to be that sheep at the back of the herd. And I don't want to be that sheep at the edge that just occasionally wanders out away from the herd thinking it's cool. I don't really need that in my life. I don't really want to feel cool just because every once in a while I can pretend I'm standing out from the herd. But if that works for you, if that's your thing, no problem. The shepherds, the people that herd, the dogs that nip at your heels, they're going to bring you back in. It's just a question of how long they let you feel special. And then you'll come back to the herd because that's what you're part of. So we should all aspire to either being that sheep at the front of the herd that actually takes us in a direction that matters, or the people that hear about it and say, yes, that matters. And I'm going to follow them. I'm going to agree with them. I'm going to do what they're doing. I'm going to be a sheep and do what that sheep's doing. Because that's going to make the difference. So, what sheep do you want to be? Anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry this got long. Hope you have a good day.